Hey, hi, hello. This is the director's commentary for the Sid course. Like discourse, but my name is Sid, obviously. And again, I'm joined by my wife, Lily.
Or Anila.
Sure. And so this is the director's commentary for third-person action games, or how I see video games.
You had to have two titles.
Well, it was more for clickbait purposes, really,
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, because and plus for SEO, so you're gonna have to balance it out. So yeah, this video took 4 days to make, which was pretty interesting because it kind of just came together in one go. So the story goes, I had a script which I shopped around for a bit. It was all right, and I kind of left it because I was focusing on the Bloodborne video, and then the Bloodborne video was kind of just crushing me. And
I know, I was there.
yeah, and it was just a massive struggle to get through that because there's so much work to do. And then you said
We had a conversation.
but your suggestion was obviously to fucking do something smaller because these big videos are quite heavy.
Yeah. And I'm happy you did because you were miserable for about 2 weeks and had to deal with that for 2 weeks. Yeah. And then our conversation, or more of a telling off.
Basically.
And and the result was great.
Yeah. I mean, so...
Got a positive response so far.
Yeah. I mean, so you went to visit your family for the weekend. Mm-hmm. And after just doing all the chores around the house, I was just fuck it, I'll just get it done. So I rewrote the script, I re-recorded the audio, and then I redid all the music. And then just started editing and doing all the graphics and stuff. Which, it took 4 days, which is kind of like how I used to do videos. It was just a very short space of time.
I think you're a lot happier whilst you're making this.
I mean, it's personal and at the same time informative, which I guess is kind of like the Depression video and like the Metal Gear Solid video and the Hellblade video. It kind of just comes together really quickly.
And also it opens up a conversation which for some people wouldn't have come across before.
Oh yeah, I mean, even with just this VR bit, and I don't think many people realize how hard it is to actually see without two eyes. I mean, obviously you can see.
Yeah.
But it's not optimal.
I mean, reading some of the comments under the video, some people experience it differently as well. Like people who are born with blindness in one eye tend to adapt in a different way, whereas I feel like with you, you've had to learn how to adapt.
Oh, by the way, this is my favourite part. One, because of that. Normally when it comes to video production, right, I do the voiceover and I do all the editing and then I add the music in later. This is the first time I've done the music first, because I knew what I wanted in the script, and there was obviously going to be the bit with Metal Gear Solid, and I thought in Snake Eater the ultimate meme is the da 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 da. What a thrill! And that's the thing that everyone knows about, even if you haven't played it. It's just such a goofy James Bondish big band orchestra thing. And I thought, fuck it, I need to do something like that. And then the beat that came with it, the dun, 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 it was, it just made me so happy just doing that. It was honestly my favorite part of the video.
I did like the way you did the music in this video, like the fact that it had the beat and it created the video with it.
Yeah, so just to explain to the viewers, so normally if you've watched any of my other videos, and I imagine most other video makers, they have a script and they kind of follow the script, and they've used the beat of the audio itself or whatever the thing is. So if you're making a music video, you follow the beat of the music in the video and so on. In this particular case, I basically got a kick drum and just went and I did that for about 10 minutes. It's just straight, just exactly on 120 BPM. And then I edited all the audio to be on beat to that, so it's kind of musically flowing. All of the keywords are on the kick, and so it flows quite nicely, I find. And I think that's kind of how I'm going to do my videos from now on, give it that kind of musicality that's not there but is there. And then it helps me build the music around. And I think when I'm doing works that are going to have like different tones throughout it, I think I'm going to switch out the BPMs between the tracks, so that kind of goes, you could go from something that's like very to and build my audio and voice it around that. Speaking of voiceovers, apparently there are some people who still find it difficult to hear me.
Yeah, personally, I don't know if it's because I'm familiar with your voice and the way you talk, so that I can hear it quite clearly, or because I've read the script, I've watched the video a few times before you've uploaded it. Maybe that's why I'm so familiar with it, so it's hard for me to also understand what other people are hearing. Personally, with this video, like I told you about the Final Fantasy video, there was parts where I was like, no, I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
And you tried your best to fix that. But with this one, I didn't have that same complaint, because the first time we listened to it,
there was
it was a bit loud, and we said change it. And then the second time it was too quiet, and it's like, well, all the stuff that you've worked on isn't working, so you can't hear it all. So try again. Yeah. And I think this one was the right balance, like in my personal opinion. I think the music actually helps the video like flow better. Yeah. And I think if we cut that out completely, or even quieten it down completely, I don't think the energy in the video would be the same.
Yeah.
Because it can be a quite sad topic, where you've kind of made it more like hopeful.
Yeah, so the music that I used, I made. So the kind of chord progressions, especially towards the end here, have a sad hopefulness to it, which was quite intentional there. So it's all in like F minor, and like that's a chord progression that if you do it right, it can be kind of like very kind of hopeful, but also sad if you remove elements from it. And it followed that same progression follows into the end song here. It's exactly the same chord progression. It's just a change of instrumentation and so on. But I don't know. It's very hard to, because like
I just think there's always going to be some people who just don't like it, and that's fine. But that's why you have the subtitles there.
I know. Accessibility.
Exactly. So I feel like you're not going to please everybody, and I think some people will like this style with the music mixed with it. I like it as well.
I mean, from my perspective, it's a creative endeavor, and I want to, like express my creativity. And it's like, obviously, like doing the motion graphics is one element of it. Getting the footage and editing it in a certain way and making it flow is part of it. And then also the voiceover and, of course, the music. And if I didn't have that culmination of things, I feel it would be the same as everyone else's, right? Like, I think the fact that I do my own music and my own graphics, and it's its own, it makes it mine. I think.
I personally, I do like it. I love to have a conversation with the people that what it is that they can't hear. I think your voice is quiet, but you can't do anything about that. Like, you've got a deep voice, and sometimes there's times when you're talking to me and I'm like, what? What do you say?
No, so it's because my voice is low.
Yeah.
So even now, when I'm talking kind of very kind of candidly and normally, my voice, I mean, we can look on the spectrograph right here, and obviously the viewers, you can't see it, but if we're looking at the spectrograph, and the very bottom of the frequency is where I am. And now, if you speak...
Hello. I mean, my voice is quite...
Well, you're not speaking. So.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
So you're here on the spectrograph. You're a lot higher up, as well as everyone else. And generally, most people speak in this kind of the middle to upper range. Whereas my voice, especially the actual sound of it, like is here and here. And when you're cleaning up audio, generally speaking, the presets and the tutorials and the things that you learn about audio engineering, especially when it comes to vocals, is to cut out the sub bass, except I live in the sub bass. But yeah, it's tough because like you kind of have to break all the rules of audio engineering in order to... The thing is, if I make it louder in the top end, you're not going to hear me. So it's tough. Also, this shot is hilarious. That's a really rare thing to get. Sniper Elite, very hard to get the eye shot. Like the testicle shot is quite easy, but that's because like everyone wants to get the testicle shot, especially when you get to the hit area.
What do you hope for this video to achieve? Is it something you want to talk about more? Accessibility, inclusivity. I know you mentioned in a tweet yesterday because of a certain conversation that was happening on Twitter.
Oh my god, that conversation. So
yeah, that was even I was like, what is the point trying to be made here?
I don't know what their point. I don't know, with that particular individual, they've spent a lot of time defending.
I think they were defending something that you shouldn't defend, especially. I'm assuming that guy was a white individual, white male.
White male from Poland.
Yeah, just you shouldn't be defending that. It's not their place to defend those kind of.
I mean, I understand the point that he's trying to make, but the point he's trying to make is one that defends racists and
it's a lot of whataboutery. It's like, oh well, what if this person is language is this and what about? I mean, that's just a lot of what ifs. Yeah. That's not the truth of what that comment said. And to me, reading that comment, I was like. Yeah, and it had nothing to do with your video, really.
Yeah, I mean,
not really.
The comment that I had was that like, oh, they'd like to see more accessibility for disabled people, but they don't like the concept of inclusivity to include black people or gay people or trans people. And
just for the sake of
I mean, I understand. I understand for the sake of it, right? Because like replacing generic.
But then it depends what you mean by for the sake of it. Should a video game character? Say if the video game character is a black man, should their whole character be around the fact that they're a black man, or can't they just be just like any other video game character and their story is their story, regardless of where they're from or what their preferences are? Like, what difference does it make?
I mean, you can do that, but in this kind of age where it's our duty to kind of share stories and of other worlds, because like the American male story is a very generic one. Everyone knows it, right?
But my point is,
I think their opinion was like, they don't want to just have black people in for the sake of it. Which, from the inclusion of other races and genders and orientations, and all people should be there. What difference it makes is that to the person playing it, right? So, for example, Prince of Persia or Assassin's Creed, the first one specifically, like. Me being able to see myself as a brown man who's a fucking cool dude, like I can't remember the fucking Prince of Persia's name, but he's fucking cool.
How I'm trying to see it is like if there was, I don't know, like a Resident Evil game or something, and there was a South Asian woman, female lead character, but her character was just that she is South Asian woman, but she isn't defined by the fact that she's from that background.
Yeah.
Like it's just there because that's life. Everybody of every walks of life can be a part of something like this. Like, unless it's in like a specific setting, like, I don't know, if Assassin's Creed is set in, a certain time period, then obviously certain type of people wouldn't be in that setting at that period of time. But most video games are set in fantasy worlds. That person can be from any background.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
so that's why those kind of comments are stupid, because video games are a fantasy world. In the majority of the time.
I mean, again, like you said, it's all about down to the setting and placement of these characters. Like if it's say for example, The Witcher 3, there was a lot of controversy around the fact that all the characters are just white. And the defenses are, it's a European setting and so on. But then it's like, well, you got dragons and fucking monsters. So like if you can't if you can't suspend your belief the fact that there's someone with a little bit of melanin in their skin in this fantasy world, you might be a racist.
I mean, fantasy has that problem anyway. If we look at things like Game of Thrones, a lot of the ethnic-looking characters are always tropes, and they're always like, tribal or like they're not civilized, and it's always kind of like these racist undertones to those characters.
It's the same.
So it's an issue, but for example, like currently I'm writing the Berserk thing.
Yeah.
If you look like a character like Casca, she's a black woman in this world, right? Or, an ethnic woman in this world. It's there, but it isn't something that's all her story isn't built around the fact that she is that. Yeah, and so you can do it in fantasy without it making it a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously there are things there are characters that mention it and point out. And
I think it highlights her otherness within that world, because she's a woman who's, a mercenary leader.
First, she's a woman, and secondly, like, she is a mercenary, and she is, of a different ethnic origin within that world. And that kind of, that does come up in the discussions that the characters have, but it's not like the defining trait. Which
there's
is
so
important.
much more to her.
Exactly. And I guess it comes down to when the game developers need to consider, other people, with not just in accessibility but in inclusivity, but also, like, there is more to a person than just the color of their skin. There's more to a person than their gender and their orientation. Like, if a character is gay, or is queer, or is bisexual or pansexual, whatever orientation they are, that only affects the sex that they're having and the people that they're attracted to. And for the most part, when it comes to games, you're kind of doing the rooty tooty point and shooty. Right?
Yeah.
So what that has it's a character trait. But then you also have to consider things like, there is the kind of discussion of, like, how the white male is the default, and it's been so coded that, like, it's such a shock. Like, if you remember when Metroid came out,
and they found out
you play this entire game, and then Samus comes and is like, oh look, it's a woman. Surprise! If the twist of your game is that the character was a woman, you might have a problem with your character, right?
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it. Like, it's the same with, like, there's a spoiler. Actually, shall I spoil Death Stranding? No, I'll leave it for now. But there's a gender reveal, if you will.
Is there a cake involved?
No, there's no cake involved. Actually, there is a cake in it. Like, they meticulously scanned a cake for when it is your birthday, because you enter your birthday at the beginning of the game, and if you play on your birthday, then basically you get this meticulously, amazingly scanned cake in the game. It's like, hey, happy birthday, Sid.
Okay.
Which I think is a pretty cool, nice thing that, like, he did it in Metal Gear Solid 5 as well. Like, it was this nice touch.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So back to the original questions, like, what do I hope for this video? I hope that, one, it reaches the right people. Like, I know a gentleman that helped Game Maker's Toolkit with his Designing for Disability series has seen it and shared it amongst, like, the game dev communities. Whether anyone has said anything about it or whatever, that's for the future. I would like to make a video about inclusivity and why it's a good thing. Don't know if I'm going to do that anytime kind of soon, but it's definitely, like, something to ponder on.
Yeah.
What I would like, of course, I would love this video to do numbers and, get loads of support on Patreon and, like, turn this into a thing. But obviously that requires a bit more work. But that's I hope this blows up. Will it? I'm still kind of, like, returning, if you will.
I love how some people just, like, thought this was the first video that you've made after years.
And that's the thing. I think one of the problems, I feel like the fact that the previous video didn't get the numbers was because they just didn't see it. And I think that's just down to the YouTube algorithm, perhaps the thumbnail as well.
Maybe. I think it's more to do with the fact that because you hadn't uploaded anything for ages, YouTube had kind of pushed you down the list kind of thing.
That's also part of it. So the algorithm favors people who upload regularly and recommend stuff. I tried to gamify it as best as possible by including other creators, and essentially their inclusion into that video would, help boost it, because obviously if they share it and whatnot.
Remember when we played this game?
Super hot, yeah. Not in VR, by the way.
Remember when I picked up the pad straight off you and got
so
the first
obviously,
kill?
so I took a very, very long HDMI cable from my PC, plugged it into the TV so we could play Super Hot in 4K, which looks amazing, by the way. And playing on controller is hard enough, especially in first person, but we were, playing in a party kind of mode, and I'm struggling. If it was on a keyboard and mouse, I would have, whooped us, but whatevs. And then, so I put the controller down for a second, and then, little Miss Wife over here picks it up and fucking completes the level in, like, one shot. And I'm just like, okay, thanks. Fucking pro gamer over here.
Never ever played the game before.
Whatevs. Anyway, pro gamer.
No, that's only for Fall Guys.
Oh, so, and now she's obsessed with Fall Guys. That's her jam now. Like,
Yeah, I still haven't won a crown.
I mean, you're getting there. You're getting there so close, though.
Oh.
So one thing that you mentioned, actually, is we'll probably see the blur in a second here. But with the what's the word? The blurring effect. And you mentioned how annoying it was on screen, and then you essentially the point was that you came to the realization, oh wow, that is fucking annoying, and that's how you see things. I think
what it is for me as well is because obviously I used to get really severe migraines when I was younger, and I used to get the blur thing, and it used to make me nauseous and sick, whatever. And just thinking that being a permanent thing, like all the time, just the idea of that just makes me feel very unwell.
I mean, that's life, baby girl. That's life. And the thing is, you know the annoying thing. So you know the shot with Resident Evil 2 there, where I turn on the blur.
Yeah.
Thing is that I fucking at the time of editing, right, the blur comes on with the click, right, but it zooms in, and everything that blurs kind of just looks like part of the game because obviously you're zoomed in and they do the depth of field effect, and I was like, for fuck's sake. So I had to put in this
the extra
the overlays here to show, you know, where the visual impairment is. Like, can you actually see it? Because I couldn't tell if anyone could see it or not. I had to make it quite clear, and draw a box around the
I find it interesting that people think that you can just turn your head and it makes a difference, because they don't seem to understand that it's actual light coming into your eyes as well at the same time. It's not just blacked out.
Yeah, and I think perhaps it's my fault for not making it a bit more clearer, but it's the fact that, like, so if I'm on a PC and I'm playing it, it's not so bad because it's a smaller screen and it's closer to me, and I can, you know, focus on that smaller screen with just the one eye, right? But the problem with third-person action games...
It's like the conversation we were having the other day about going to IMAX screening, and then you were like, oh yeah, it's pointless for me, and then I was like, oh. Because you'd obviously keep having to turn your head.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, the IMAX experience is about having like this, it fills your field of view, right?
Yeah.
The entire thing, if you sit there in the IMAX, the screen is curved in a way so that the entire thing fills your vision, like beyond anything. But for me, half of that screen is going to be gone. And it's like, okay, well, I can't be completely lost and immersed in a film or game or whatever on a large screen because, you know, I must be aware that this has to be in a certain position. Even
if we sit on the far right of the...
I mean, that's why when we go to cinema, we sit on the far right so that I can just use my left eye.
Yeah.
But back to the point that I was making a bit earlier was that, like, on PCs and first-person shooters, I can do that on a smaller screen, and that's not so much of an issue. It's the fact that these big third-person cinematic action games are supposed to be played on TV, right? They're designed for large screen experiences on the television. And so if I've got this large television in front of my face, part of that screen is going to be obscured and I'm not going to be able to see anything, which, you know, it's something I just got to live with, right? But if there were options to make it better, that's essentially what accessibility is, right? Like, I'm sure that the discussion comes up more than once, you know, like, oh, you know, can a blind person like watch a film? It's like, yes, they can. They have like headsets in cinemas and you know, subtitles and audio descriptive versions of films on Netflix, on DVDs, on in the cinemas, etc.
Yeah, you can experience something, but just slightly differently.
Exactly, and yes, it's not optimal, but giving that person, someone who literally cannot see, the ability to experience this thing in the best way that they can, that is the most important. And yes, I understand that my voice is very low and hard to hear sometimes, hence why I make it a very important thing to put subtitles on my videos. It's kind of part of that process.
Yeah.
And yeah, accessibility is very important, I'd say. I mean, do you have any other questions about this?
I had one, but you went on a bit and it just escaped me.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I was trying to hold on to it.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I'm not at my 100% today.
That's okay.
My brain is a bit off.
I'm just trying to think what else. I mean, like, this video is a very short video. I was a little anxious that maybe like people would be like, oh no, it's like a short video. I can't believe you're making people pay on Patreon for, you know, 8-minute videos. But
I just don't think it's about quantity though. I think quality always trumps Like, you could have, a 4-hour video, but if you're just chatting a bunch of bollocks, like, just, you know what I mean? Like, to me, it's not about the amount of time you spend talking about something, it's how concise you can be and make a point, and a point that's interesting in you. Like, if you're just regurgitating what other people are saying, then it's a pointless exercise, in my opinion. Like,
I mean, that's part of the reason why I don't do like reviews or critiques of games, because you can waffle on about a game for a while, and there are like reviews and critiques of games and stuff that are in the in the multi-hour length, and some of them are actually pretty good. For example, you're never going to watch it, but Joseph Anderson's multi-hour saga on the Witcher or Fallout series. They're very long, they're very fucking expensive, but they're not a waste of time.
The question I have about those kind of videos is, for example, if I've already played a video game, like, it's very rare that then I want to go and see somebody else talk about the gameplay, because you've already experienced it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the only reason I would watch a video is if I've experienced, say, a film or something, and there's themes in it that maybe I got but not fully grasped, and then I want to go listen to somebody explain those themes or something to me.
I mean, we did that with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, so after we finished the game, we went and watched this podcast with Maximilian Dude and
Love that guy.
these other guys. I can't remember what the name of the podcast was, but they basically had a spoiler discussion, which was like a couple of hours long, about it. And they, as they were speaking about it, it's kind of like, okay, those themes and ideas and thoughts that you had especially. Me, it was just like, hey, look, video game, because I'm a dumbass essentially. But you obviously have a history and understanding of the series and the game and stuff. So with that for yourself, I felt like that was pretty helpful. And that's kind of like generally like a lot of people do that with like games.
But that was just affirming the thoughts I already had, rather than me learning anything new.
Yeah, but like a lot of people do kind of like, they'll either play a game and want to hear someone's opinions, and I would like to assume it's based on they want to hear someone that they respect and care for the opinion of, and their opinion / take on something. Because I mean, if you think about it,
because I'm just thinking how I consume content. Like, I only go to a review for stuff if it's something I haven't yet purchased or something that I'm thinking about, and I'm like making an informed decision on something I want. So that's why I always found it quite interesting that people watch video game reviews on things that they've probably already played and purchased. It's like a really like a backwards way of going about it. It's like, I've already experienced this game and I'm going to experience it through someone else's eyes.
My assumption is that a game comes out, right, or is about to come out, and they'll go to a publication or a reviewer and they will watch or read a review, like a spoiler-free review, and then they will go and buy the game if they're convinced or recommended it, play it, and then come back to that same publication or reviewer and watch or read that, as well as other people's things, just because they are currently invested and engrossed in the world. That's how I would technically do it if I was, well, I mean, that's how I did do it back in the day before I was in the game, if you will. I would be like, oh, this game is coming out, this looks mildly interesting, let's see what people are saying and talking about, and then I would play the game, and then I would come back and see what. That's my assumption on how things would go, because that's how I would have done it or have done it. So I mean, I don't think I'd ever make anything longer than an hour unless it was a very, very specific series of stuff, and I would kind of do it in a Netflix kind of way.
I think I prefer when people like cut up their videos, because we were watching something yesterday which I said this would be better if it was episodic rather than just like one big mass.
And so, I mean, that's the problem with YouTube. So YouTube values engagement above anything else, right? So the longer you watch something, the more that they like recommend it and whatnot. So if, say for example, I made a 5-hour video on a game, realistically, if I were doing this professionally and say like on Netflix or whatever, or any other kind of content, it would be better for me to release episode 1 and then episode 2, 3, 4, and 5 hour length videos, 5 episodes, one after the other for a whole week, right? So 5 days, Monday to Friday, there are new episodes, and they're an hour long, and that is like the normal way of things. Like if you were on Netflix, Amazon Prime, if you were, anyways, that's how you would release something, or weekly, if you want to go for the long game. But with YouTube, because they like engagement and the fact that if you are an established content creator and if you release a 5-hour video, no one's going to be able to watch 5 hours in one go, but they will come back to that same video and pick up exactly where they left off. But
then isn't that just a false equivalence then? Because like, I know this is a YouTube problem, but like, surely if the same person is coming back, 20, 30 times to watch this video, that's still one person. Like, in my opinion, that should count as one view. Like, that's how I see it. Like, as somebody who worked in influencer marketing, I would think if somebody's got like a 10-hour video and they've got like millions of views, I'd be like, well, how do I divide that by, to see the real engagement behind that? Because to me, that's not true engagement if it's the same person going back to the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
Because you only need one person to be influenced, not the same person to be influenced 10 times by the same thing. Do you get what I mean?
Exactly. And that's essentially the false equivalency when it comes to YouTube. But again, that's how you're going to get paid. Right.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand it from the point of view of people who are making content on there. I just don't understand YouTube's reasoning behind pushing up those...
So...
the videos that are longer, etc., etc.
The reasoning as to why YouTube does it is that should a person be engaged in a video that's 10 hours long, for example, right? Because I think that's the maximum you can do. So a video is 10 hours long and they upload it. In that 10 hours, you can place 100 adverts, right? And if a person is invested in watching this 10-hour thing, they will watch all 100 adverts. Or they will have to at least skip it, which still counts as an engagement in order to get through it, right? And that is their reasoning. The thing is that like even with just like based on pure analytical data, if you made a 5-part series, 1 hour each, 5 episodes of, for example, The Witcher 3, if you did that, you will notice that the first video will get the most amount of views, so say like 1 million views. The second video will have 800,000 views. The third will have 700,000, and then the fourth will have maybe 200,000 because the drop off is massive. And that is because 2 days is a long time on YouTube, and your video and your content will get lost based on other people's upload schedules. So say, for example, like on my YouTube subscriptions, I follow mostly like my peers and colleagues, but I also watch other shit as well. Cooking videos and, like DIY videos. It's just dumb shit that I'm interested in, right? They have different upload schedules. So like a lot of the bigger company ones, like maybe powered by bigger, like the Condé Nasts and so on, when with their YouTube channels, they have multiple uploads a day.
Well, yeah.
So you have those, and then you have like say the music channels, and they upload like 4 or 5 times a day, and so on, because they're just like churning through out, and because they're a machine at this point. And then the quality content that I'm kind of like invested in, it gets lost because we don't have regular upload schedules. If, for example, say Rasputin uploaded every single, third Monday of the month, right? And then like Heavy Eyed did every, Tuesday of the month or whatever, and like everyone had a specific day that they uploaded, then that would kind of work. But there is no kind of like unionization of this, which is obviously because you can't.
I mean, you can't do that.
Exactly, because like for example, it might take me 4 days to make this video. The next video might take me 30 days. The one after that might take me 2 months. Like Final Fantasy VII took me 77 days. Hellblade took me 2 weeks. Depression in Video Games took me 7 days. And those are all varying different lengths of different. I wouldn't say different qualities per se, but like they're all kind of.
They have different things going into them.
Yeah, and like sometimes that gap between scripts is also the one as well. Sometimes you just don't have an idea for a while, and luckily, like Patreon supporters are generally very kind of forgiving. It's like, you know what, the reason that we're doing this thing on Patreon is because like we support you and your ideas, and we want you to do the best work and not like just churn shit out. And that's like the benefit of having that, and it kind of guarantees that income. Whereas like if like we weren't on like Patreon, for example, and we just relied on ad revenue, we would make fuck all, because like what would happen is that we would have a whole bunch of like videos that come out at really sporadic times, and they would get lost depending on whatever's being uploaded. And so you have to kind of compete with everyone else because, like, say for example, say all of the big YouTubers decided to upload all on one day, and if you're kind of like doing like me, if you're making a comeback, quote unquote, it's not really. If you're making a comeback, right, you get lost because like people who have a more regular upload schedule are more likely to be seen. Like I know for a fact that as soon as Rasputin uploads a video, I'm going to watch it. If Mitch or Maria or Dutchy or anyone of that kind of group of people, if they upload a video, I will watch it as soon as I have the opportunity.
But that's the thing, is that you have to achieve that loyalty.
Absolutely.
It's not about like, it doesn't matter if 100 people upload on the same day.
Yeah.
If you already have the audience.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But then you also have to bear in mind that a lot of people also like they'll see the notification in the video, and they may. And I know.
I have another question
go
before you start going on. Is do you value the first day more than the rest of it? Because I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on, the first day is like the most important day for a video to go live, and like you want to see the numbers, you want to see the comments, whatever it is. But like, say if a video did badly in the first day, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but then for some reason it started building traffic from another source maybe, and in 6 months' time it started becoming popular.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that can happen. So why is there such an emphasis on once it's up, and that's it, I'm going to forget about that video? Because I've noticed something that, say like fashion bloggers or like etc. in other parts of the world that explore content, they tend to go back to like older work and older posts and things, and reblog and like talk about stuff when it's back into the limelight. So say if there's a trending topic in that world, they will then piggyback on it and say, oh well, I have something along those lines, just here, consume it. Is there a reason why YouTubers kind of just, like, I noticed you just post it once and then that's it, it's gone. You never talk about it again.
So I think with YouTube, because there's literally like 2 billion hours worth of content uploaded every single day, right?
But my point...
Wait. So there's 2 billion hours of this content being uploaded every day, and people's attention like changes constantly, right? So for example, someone who consumes content, they come back from work or school or whatever, and they'll be like, okay, I'm going to watch some YouTube, or I'm going to watch it on the bus or the train or wherever. They'll see a video and they're like, okay, I'm going to watch this for the time that it takes. And then the next one, this one I want to watch, I'll add it to my watch later. I'll add it to this playlist or the queue.
But my point is that none of your videos are like time sensitive. It's evergreen content.
Oh yeah, so
they're based around topics that are always going to be in the forefront, whether that's mental health, etc., etc. These are like even the art of Metal Gear, that's still relevant in the landscape today. It's not something that's been and gone and nobody cares about it anymore.
Yeah. So I do evergreen content, but like the first day is the one that kind of defines the direction that the video goes in, and you kind of see the immediate reaction. The kind of remaining time that it's on there, so basically the rest of its lifetime, that is purely just powered by SEO and discovery and the recommendation engine. The point of pushing it as much as possible on the first day is if people are watching it straight from subscriptions and they're seeing it being recommended and shared and being watched and the engagement, then YouTube's algorithm says, oh, people like this, they want this, all right, we will continue recommending this associated to the tags that it has. So it uses
the way I see it is like, obviously my day job is link building.
Yeah.
I build links so that, whatever clients I have, their search engine results go, first page, top page, whatever.
Yeah.
And there's been times where I've done a campaign around keywords and it's not done anything in the first month or two. But then like 6 months down the line, I found something that's happening within the discourse of the journalist world. I jump on it and then that content is pushed up to the top again. And the page views and, the content views, whatever it is, and product purchases go up significantly during that time. And even though it wasn't a push for that period of time that they wanted, it still was effective, 6 months down the line. So I want to know why there isn't more of a push of your content across other places. Why is it just Twitter, YouTube, Twitter, YouTube, Twitter, YouTube? Like there's other places you can talk about your content.
Oh, so Reddit doesn't like me, for for sure.
I mean, Reddit aside, for example, if you did like a guest post on a game blog, I don't know, I'm not very versed in that world, but like, and then, because like I know fashion bloggers do it, like fashion influencers do it, they'll write something on Grazia about something they've written on their own blog, and they'll share that with the editor and say, you know, this is a topic I'm talking about, it's, you know, hot topic right now. They pitch to that editor, they basically get to pitch their story, whatever it is, and then they get that link back to their channel or to their Instagram or whatever it is they try to promote.
So that happens. Like, for example, there are plenty of like YouTubers who will create something and then some. So it depends on the publication. So, for example, like IGN and GameSpot and so on, they will commission a video sometimes, or they will have someone kind of like write something, and or they will reference a video, right? So some journalist will say, "Oh, let's talk about," let's talk about like visual impairment, and then they'll find a couple of videos and they'll share those, right? Which is a good thing, and that will get you kind of like hits and stuff. But there have been many, many, many cases of journalists who essentially just kind of like plagiarize the entire video, and because like there is no like textual version
that happens in like in what I do as well. There was times where like it was the Telegraph and the Sun and the Daily Mail both all copied my story and didn't credit. And it happens, but the thing is, like, you can have a chain or conversation with a journalist, and if you really want to out that journalist and say, actually, you've just stolen my pitch.
Oh no, I mean that happens. I mean, like, they get called out all the time.
Yeah, that's fine. But
so
then
what I'm saying is that one, I've never been approached, and two, I don't know how to approach these people.
I do.
Okay, well, I mean, by all means, if you can get me, get my video on IGN and GameSpot and whatnot.
The thing is, you're thinking like super big. Like there are
I'm
thousands of video game publications across the world.
I will happily be placed on any. I just, like, madam.
I have an entire media database at my fingertips.
Then babes, please, help.
And I think this would be a great video to do it for, because it's a topic that journalists may not know how to approach because they don't have a first-hand experience.
I mean, babe, just go for it. Like,
is that my task for the day?
That's your task.
Am I writing a press release?
Write a press release and send it to some journalists for me, please.
I mean, I don't mind.
Alright, cool. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen of the Patreon, you might have some other people join you now that my wife has jumped on board and said, yeah, I'm going to do your media outreach for you. Like, I'm blind. All I know is how to I don't even know how to play video games. I know how to make videos about video games.
I like how I'm going to be the marketing powerhouse behind it.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, you take the best that you can and, do what you...
I'm going to write your scripts for you.
Oh, speaking of that, so my wife here, this little cutie, look at this little cutie. You can't really see it, but nonetheless.
I don't look so cute right now.
She's writing...
Dying of COVID.
No, you're not dying of COVID. So she's writing a script about Berserk, the manga, not the anime. But,
I mean, a bit of both.
A bit of both. But basically Berserk and its influences. And it's a really interesting story. My hope is that it will be so obviously this is... so the next video I believe is going to be on Yakuza and tattoos. And then the video after that, I would like it to be the Berserk one unless something else comes up. But it will be Lily de Sidci's debut as
not really.
As the writer on the Sid course, like discourse. But my name is Sid, husband of the great Lily de Sidci.
Is that how you're going to start that one?
Oh hell yeah!
Not blah blah. Hi, I'm sexy.
I don't know if you've seen my Twitter, but I took a picture of the script that she wrote, and literally she started with like, "Hi, I'm Sid, blah 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 blah. I'm sexy," and
which is spot on.
Which the Patreon exclusive version will have that in.
Will it?
Yes, because if you want the "Hi, I'm Sid, blah blah blah. I'm sexy," Berserk is it? That's the Patreon exclusive version. So, yeah. Anyway, we are coming to the end of this. I mean, technically, we still have about 4 more minutes of this.
You just want to chat.
Of this chat, so you want to be just like, hey, how you doing?
I don't want you to flirt with me.
What's up, baby girl? Hey, what's your name is?
Oh, stop. I'm gonna get up and walk away.
So yeah, I'm hoping that this does numbers. In fact, I think this might be a good one for like trying to like whore out the media to.
I think it's worth a try.
Yeah. Fuck it.
I mean, we have nothing to lose other than my time.
You will be paid accordingly.
With what? Hugs and kisses?
No, you can. I was gonna give you hugs and hisses.
Okay.
Yes. I'll buy you dinner.
We're not allowed to go outside.
Yeah, I said I'll buy you dinner. Like, I got the Uber Eats.
No, the McDonald's breakfast.
McDonald's breakfast was dope though. Oh man.
Yeah, my tummy's not so great right now.
Yeah, it's okay. Alright. So I mean, thank you again for listening. I hope you enjoyed this.
Waffling on.
It is waffling on. It's basically a podcast. The director's commentary.
We should just do a podcast. It'd be so much easier.
It would be so much easier, yes. But one, it requires some investment. I need to get some better mics. One where, because like the...
Pay up, fools.
Don't give me, they're already paying up. Oh
yeah, that's true actually. Sorry, I love you.
I did an interview with Searching for Pixels last week, and like out of that I got another patron, like based on that conversation. And I mean the topic was about like mental health and stuff, and like my work with the people who watched the Hellblade video after. And yeah, I mean that was emotional, man. I was like, holy shit. I understand why celebrities go on like talk shows and stuff. It's the promotion side. I didn't realize how much it actually helps until it affected me. And I was like, holy shit. I should start fucking, whoring myself out of it.
Yeah. I think obviously you have to be well versed within the people that also do this.
Yeah.
Like you can't just be in a silo.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm an outsider to...
I mean, you can feel that way, but does it mean that people aren't interested in talking to you? Or
I mean, I'm open to conversation all the time. Anyone wants to ask me something, I am happy to answer. Yours sincerely, Sid.
Unless you ask something stupid.
Unless something stupid. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. I mean, following the feedback on the previous director's commentary, it was pretty good, and we'll make another one on the next video.
This one probably wasn't as high quality because I feel like I'm dying.
What? You're such a cutie. Dude, you were great. You did amazing.
I'm going to have some pills.
All right. Thank you for watching. And the album comes out almost... That should be out at the same time as this, actually. Thank you. Stay sexy.